Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the SCU Show. I'm your host, SCU. This is episode number 73. I do apologize. We're not on last week. Brandon had something he had to do, and therefore the studio wasn't available. I did look to another studio from somebody else I was looking to work with, but unfortunately, they never got back to me. So we just took a week off. But what a week two that was, right? I mean, Miami's comeback against Baltimore was the biggest game. You had the game with the Steelers and Patriots was a good one as well. I watched that. South Station out in Boston, coming back from where I was at. But we're not here to talk about week two anymore. That's past us. Let's get to week three, and we'll start with something I'm a bit near and dear to me. It's running quarterbacks. And two running quarterbacks right here. They're the MVP frontrunners so far through the first 3 weeks. Who are they? I think you all know who they are. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Let's start with Lamar. I was just talking about Brandon. This is Brandon Estevez, by the way. Thank you to Brandon for giving us the studio every week during the season. Lamar Jackson has 12 total touchdowns so far in 2022. We're 3 games in. That's more than about 25 teams in the NFL. That's not the approximate number, but he has more touchdowns by himself, than more than half the teams in the league right now. Insane. 5 total touchdowns against New England in a big win in Foxborough. 4 passing, 1 rushing. And I remember talking about this during the offseason. Who's he going to throw to? They just got rid of Hollywood Brown, who, by the way, I talked about during the offseason. Bust. I called him a bust. And now I haven't heard anything from him since he went to Arizona. All I know is Arizona, they're a crapshoot right now. Look at how they're playing. Horribly. Yes, they beat the Raiders. Raiders are the worst team in the NFL, and they were down 20-3 against those Raiders. But anyway, that's another story for another time. Point is, Lamar Jackson looked like MVP candidate 3 weeks through the season. 12 total touchdowns. That is more his passing numbers, his passer rating, which I don't believe is a real stat, but people like talking about pass rating, so I'm going to talk about it here. His passer rating, his passing yards, passing touchdowns, passing everything. He has more of all that through 3 games than he did through 3 games in 2019. Why am I bringing up 2019, you might be asking? 2019 is the year he won MVP. So he's doing better than he did the year he won MVP. So I know, it's only week 3. Calm down. I know. It's only week 3. However, we're here to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. It might be the year Lamar Jackson wins another MVP. And then you look at the division, the AFC North. Cincinnati started 0-2. Joe Burrow's been sacked 13 times for 2 games. The Browns, they're doing well, but you see that game, another game week 2. The game against the Jets, what was that? They were up 30-17 with 2 minutes left. 30-17 with 2 minutes left, and they lose the game. And then they beat the Steelers by the skin of their teeth last Thursday night. And then obviously there's the Steelers, who have lost 2 in a row, and can't seem to get out of their own way. George Pickens had a great catch last Thursday, but that's all they had. They were in the game at the end, but really it was all Browns for most of the game. So really, it's looking like Baltimore. I talked about it during the offseason. This was Cincinnati's division to lose. Now look at Lamar Jackson, MVP. This is Baltimore's division to lose. So I think it's all Ravens. I'll be seeing them, by the way, November 8th. Or November 6th. That's Sunday. I'll be down in New Orleans. They'll be playing the Saints. Be on vacation. So looking very much forward to that. Seeing the MVP, Lamar Jackson, down in the Big Easy. All right, let's skip the script. Because there's another guy. I talked about him. Jalen Hurts. First of all, I know I'm a former Cowboys fan. I shouldn't be rooting for the Eagles. But the Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now. You talk about the Ravens and how good they are. But really, it's Philadelphia. Look what they did last week against Carson Wentz, who, by the way, lost his job to Jalen Hurts. And I'm just saying, Carson Wentz, come on, he's still the same Carson Wentz. Same guy he's been since I talked about it. Everybody talks about the 2017 season. MVP caliber. Now look at him now. He was sacked 9 times. Career high. And a loss to his former team. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, the Eagles are 3-0. They're looking great. Devontae Smith had over 100 yards receiving against Washington. And look absolutely spectacular. So both of these quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, you can put 2 in that conversation if you want. You put him in the MVP conversation. But really, it comes down to these 2. It comes down to Lamar Jackson. It comes down to Jalen Hurts. These 2 are my favorite MVP candidates through the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. And I brought this up to start the show. Running quarterbacks. A lot of people don't like the smaller quarterbacks. They don't think they work too well. I think they work perfectly. I've said this for years. Look at Lamar. Running quarterback. He's dominating the league right now. Jalen Hurts, running quarterback. Top team in the NFL right now, a little in the NFC. Kyler Murray, the Cardinals, they might figure it out, Maybe they will. Russell Wilson, the Broncos will figure it out. Yes, they've struggled. We'll talk about their Sunday night game here in a little bit. But running quarterbacks is the way to go in the NFL. I said it before. I did a whole segment about it during the offseason. Running quarterbacks, way of the future. And that's what these other teams are getting on. Like the Commanders, Sam Howell. That's got to be your guy moving forward here. I love Sam Howell coming to North Carolina. I know he's a third-round pick. He's a third string right now. But Carson Wentz and the Commanders continue to struggle. Wouldn't be surprised to see Sam Howell at some point, maybe in the fourth quarter of a game coming up here soon. I'm just saying. But anyway, point being, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, MVPs, running quarterbacks, listed up NFLers, running quarterbacks, way to the future in the NFL. And it works. Well, I also talked about this during the offseason. Let's get to this now. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, we don't know nobody wants to talk about the Jaguars. By the way, stay safe, Florida. All of Georgia, South Carolina. Stay safe. Hurricane Ian is coming your way. So be prepared and stay safe. But the Jaguars, there's one word to describe the Jaguars. Wow. What is going on in Jacksonville? Everybody's so surprised. I'm not that surprised with the Jaguars doing so well. I said it during the offseason. They had got a great coach. Obviously, the whole thing with Urban Meyer was a mess. I think Trevor Lawrence is a very talented quarterback. I always thought he was. Ever since he was at Clemson. Everybody knew that, though. I was big on them getting Christian Kirk from the Cardinals. Huge on them getting Christian Kirk. And he's done very well for them. And obviously, they also picked up Marvin Jones from the Lions. And they got Zay Jones from the Raiders. And I said, this is like a big four right here. You got Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, you got Marvin Jones Jr., and you got Zay Jones. And look at the Jaguars now. And by the way, the head coach, Doug Peterson, man's won a Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. And everybody likes to make the argument, no, but Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I mean, I can go over days about how Nick Foles is a great quarterback and deserves a shot, but I won't. Sticking with the Jaguars, you saw it this week. What was that? What a win for the Jaguars out in L.A. 38-10 over Justin Herbert, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. That powerful defense of the Chargers, that whole highly talented offense of the Chargers. Jaguars picked them apart. James Robinson, he coming back from an Achilles injury. Monster game against the Chargers, against that defense. And that just says that. And look at the Jaguars now. First place in the AFC South. Who would have thought? Who would have thought the Jaguars would be first place in the AFC South? Even I didn't think that. And I thought the Jaguars were going to be a good team. But you have the Titans are struggling with Derrick Henry. Whatever happened to him? He's not the same king he was last year, the year before. The Colts, I mean, what's going on with them? Shutout against these Jaguars. Terrible loss against Houston. Tie against Houston week 1. What was that? And then this week they beat the Chiefs, which I think was, this whole week was topsy-turvy with different teams losing. Like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, both lost. So there was like a topsy-turvy week in the NFL. So the Colts win over the Chiefs. That's a little surprising, but I think the Colts will come back down to earth this week. But anyway, the Jaguars. What is? I'm not surprised by what they're doing. I'm happy for them. Really am. Happy to see the Jaguars doing well because they have such a great team around them. They have a great coach, and they currently sit in first place in the AFC South. And that was a huge win for them out in LA against the Chargers. So credit to the Jaguars, credit to Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, and that whole team. Kudos to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. I love seeing it. I can't wait to see more of it moving forward. Great stuff from the Jaguars. So, like I said, we get to the wins of the Commanders. Let's get to the wins of the Commanders. Okay, so let's go back because a lot of you haven't watched the show. We've been on a hiatus for a while. I'm not a big fan of Carson Wentz. Let's get that out the way. Never was. I like the North Dakota State. North Dakota State, obviously, they're successful no matter who their quarterback is, though. And obviously, everyone likes to talk about the MVP candidate 2017. Yeah, if he didn't get hurt, he might have won the MVP. But the thing is, he got hurt. Nick Foles took over and won a Super Bowl over Tom Brady and over Bill Belichick. Next year, the year after, Carson Wentz 5-6 as a starter. Nick Foles comes in after Wentz gets hurt again. And what do you know it? Foles goes 6-1 and is an Alshon Jeffrey tipped catch interception away from the Eagles going back to the NFC Championship game. Remember that divisional round game against the Saints? Alshon Jeffrey, ball went off his fingers, was intercepted, and that was why the Eagles' season ended. Nick Foles could have taken him to his second consecutive Super Bowl with Carson Wentz riding the bench. And Carson Wentz, obviously, last year, talk about it, he went to the Colts. Yeah, he had a great season. 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. Fine and dandy. What did they do in the final game of the year? All they had to do was beat the Jaguars. They go to the playoffs. They got destroyed. They got dominated in that last game and they missed the playoffs. Chris Irsay was so pissed, he got rid of Wentz. He traded him away. He traded him to the Commanders. And what's Carson Wentz doing with the Washington now? Well, what do you know? They're a Jahan Dotson touchdown from 0-3. Because, I meant to come out last week and talk about this after the game against Detroit, who, by the way, has the third top scoring offense in the NFL right now, which is another surprise there. Nobody saw that coming. But the Commanders were down like 22-0 at halftime, something like that. They were being dominated by Detroit in the first half. Carson Wentz had like 59 yards passing, and I was ready to come on here and rip them. And then, of course, he had a pretty good second half. They still lost to the Lions, and now I can come back here and rip them again, Carson Wentz again, because what the hell was that game against the Eagles? Yes, it's the Eagles, best team in the NFL, but still, that is the typical Carson Wentz. I'm, once again, not surprised with what I'm seeing. Carson Wentz sacked 9 times. They scored 8 points in that game against the Eagles. They lost by 16. Yeah. I've been on this for years. People that know me, they know I idolize Colin Cowherd. And Colin Cowherd used to love Carson Wentz. He was a huge fan of Wentz. He was one of those guys who said, he was an MVP candidate. I was always like, who cares? He didn't do anything after he tore his ACL. He's been nothing ever since. And he continues to be nothing to this day, even with the third team. Back-to-back losses, ugly losses at that, because I would consider that Lions game an ugly loss. They were down 20-something points in the first half. And then sacked 9 times against the Eagles. All I can say is good luck, Commanders. I had picked you guys to win the NFC East. I thought maybe Carson Wentz could get something done with Jahan Dotson and Scary Terry. You might be lucky to outdo the Giants at this point for third place in the NFC East. Good luck to you. And another team. We're sticking with the crap teams here because I was trying to do my SCU Sizzling 7 this week, and it was so much easier to do the 7 worst teams in the NFL than it was to do the 7 best teams. But I did get the 7 best teams. We'll do that in a minute. Again, another bad team here everyone had high expectations for. Vegas. They just got the top receiver arguably in the NFL, Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. They're going to do great things. Former teammates with Derek Carr at Fresno State. It's going to be awesome. Make music. Beautiful. Oh, damn. The Raiders are the only 0-3 team in the NFL. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on in Vegas. Obviously, something's wrong. What is going on in Vegas? Let's figure this out. Vegas, you got a great quarterback in Derek Carr. He's not the worst quarterback in the NFL. Not one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL either. He's arguably one of the best. He's top half in talent in the NFL. Leads the league in 4-quarter comebacks since 2014. All this other stuff. You got Hunter Renfrow. You got Devontae Adams. You got Carl Nassib on defense. You got the running back Jacobs. I forget his first name. You got Jacobs in the backfield. There is no excuse for the Raiders right now. Zip. None. None at all. For you guys to be on 3. It's terrible. Really is. And this week is a winnable game against Denver, who also, by the way, looks really crappy. You saw week 1. Monday night game. Terrible clock management at the end. On a 4th down, they go for a 64-yard field goal from Brandon McManus instead of giving Russell Wilson the ball. That was crap. They barely beat Houston. Disappointing. Again, time clock management issues. And then you saw Sunday night. They punted 10 times. 10 times against the Niners. If it weren't for Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of the end zone for a safety, the Niners would have won that game on Sunday night. Final score, if you don't know, was 11-10. Second 11-10 game in NFL history. First one was 2008. I think Steelers beat the Chargers 11-10 in Pittsburgh. But anyway, so the Raiders need to get it together. Let's see if they can win their game. I don't think it's on Sunday. I think it's a 4:00 game in Vegas against Broncos, who also need to get together. So there you go. You got the Commanders, you got the Raiders. and the Broncos, they got to figure something out there because otherwise it's going to be a long season for those three teams. So here's something else I wanted to talk about before the season. Actually, after the Trey Lance, it was last week I wanted to talk about this. Trey Lance went down with a broken ankle against the Seahawks in week 2. His season officially over. And it's just so unfortunate, right? Everybody waiting to see how they do with Trey Lance. Kind of already saw it though, right? We already saw it. Week 1 against the Bears, terrible game. He was decent against Seattle and they got hurt. Guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo came in, won the game for them. And I'm not saying here to say that, it's a good thing Trey Lance got hurt. It's never good for a player to get hurt. What's good for the Niners is that Jimmy Garoppolo is back in their center. That's what's good. San Francisco needs Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, we can talk about Trey Lance all we want. So far, what we've seen from Trey Lance, what we heard about Trey Lance in training camp and other things, it's not good. Not good look. So, pretty much, that's a blessing, you could say, that Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback against for the San Francisco 49ers because they need him. This is a man that took them to the Super Bowl. He took them to the Super Bowl. He had a 10-point lead over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in that Super Bowl. I get it. Eventually, you got to move on to a rookie. Give him he was a rookie or second year, whatever. You got to give this man his time. You got to see how he does. But I don't know if now's the right time because the Niners they're in the division. You look at the NFC West, which everyone thinks is always the best division in the NFL. It's looking like one of the worst now. The Rams, they're a mistake-prone team. We'll get to them at the SCU Show. The Seahawks, they're rebuilding. I mean, Geno Smith's their quarterback. They're not going to win anything with Geno Smith. Arizona, keep talking about it. Crapshoot. They're playing terrible football, especially on defense. That defense is horrible. Horrible defense for Arizona. So, San Francisco, with Jimmy Garoppolo, it looks like there's a chance that the 49ers can actually win this division this year. Of course, they'll have to beat the Rams. By the way, they play Monday night in San Francisco. They've beaten the Rams five of the last 7 times. I mean, yes, the NFC Championship game, they lost that one. But other than that, they've had the Rams number the last 3 seasons. They've beaten them more times than they've been beaten by the Rams. And I will pick the Niners to win on Monday night as well. And in San Francisco, in Santa Clara, whatever. I do think the Niners will beat the Niners will beat the Rams. And we're going to keep seeing Jimmy Garoppolo is the answer for the Niners moving forward. When you talk about Trey Lance, if you put him in next year and it doesn't work, then you got to stick with Jimmy G. You really do. And then you got to go look for another quarterback. Maybe if you don't go in the 2023 draft, in the 2024 draft, but at least now you know, hey, we're really lucky to have Jimmy Garoppolo. And let me tell you, this is the year for the Niners. This is the year. We don't have to talk about next year till next year. This is the year for the Niners with Jimmy Garoppolo under center to go and win the NFC West. Because look at how it's turning out. Arizona's crap. Rams are struggling. Seattle's rebuilding. This is the year for the Niners to win the NFC West with Jimmy Garoppolo. So go do it, Niners. Go win the NFC West this year. I mean, really, just imagine if the Niners had gotten a trade partner for Jimmy Garoppolo. Where would they be right now with no Garoppolo? With Trey Lance out for the year? I don't even remember who their third string guy is. No idea. So this is, again, like I said, this is the time for San Francisco. Go win the NFC West. All right, so good show so far this week. SCU Show number 73. Host SCU here at the studio. Again, shout out to Brandon Estevez, who was out in Atlanta and Cali last week doing some touring, so that's why we were unavailable for a show last week. I tried to get another studio, but the guy I was going to work with and never answered my text messages. So, what are you going to do? But we'll be back more on throughout the season and potentially into 2023. We'll be back here at the studio. We will see what happens, though. Anyway, let's get to the end of our show this week. We'll actually have 2 more segments because I didn't want to do a special tribute to somebody that I lost before I did my last show. Let's get to the SCU Sizzling 7. Let's do that first. Let's go number 7. My back-to-back wins Vikings are struggling like they're struggling. They lost to the Eagles last Monday night. They got destroyed against the Eagles. I mean, Kirk Cousins in prime time, 0-9 at this point. He's terrible. And the Packers, beat the Bears. Yeah, they also beat Brady and the Bucks in Tampa. Good win for Green Bay. And now they're tied. Well, they're still in second place in the NFC North. But if they had beaten the Vikings week 1, who are now struggling, they would be on top of the NFC North right now with Aaron Rodgers, who is still looking to make it work with nobody receivers or rookie receivers. And they were without Christian Watson in week 1 or against Tampa. So Green Bay number 7. Number 6 is Buffalo. I know, I just picked them in the top, and I talked about the last show. What a statement win they had against the Rams. And they're still a great team. Don't get me wrong. They're a Super Bowl favorite team right now. I picked them to win the Super Bowl no matter what. But that loss against the Dolphins, and I know it was 108 degrees out there in Miami, and Stephon Diggs talking about he had IVs in his arms throughout the game, trying to stay hydrated and all that other stuff. But the Bills lost. And that's why I kind of dropped it to number 6. That's really the only reason I dropped it to number 6. And, by the way, shout out to Ken Dorsey. What a meltdown he had in the booth after that final play in which they lost. 21-19 to the Dolphins. Bills number 6. Number 5 is Kansas City. The Chiefs have beaten the Bills each of the last 2 times the last 3 times these teams have met. Twice in the playoffs, and again there was like a Tuesday night game out in Buffalo because of different weather or something on another. But anyway, the Chiefs have had the Bills number. So in a matchup right now, taking Kansas City from Buffalo because they've beaten the last 3 times, and that's why I have the Chiefs over the Bills. SCU 7, Chiefs number 5. Number 4, people think about crazy about this one, but I have the Jaguars at number 4. I talked about it during the show. Love what Jacksonville is doing. Statement win for the Jaguars in LA against the Chargers. Huge win. You have, again, Trevor Lawrence, great quarterback. Zay Jones, Marvin Jones Jr., love Christian Kirk. He's going to do great things. He's going to do better this year. And the coach, obviously, Doug Peterson. I love Doug Peterson. Love what he's doing there in Philadelphia. In Jacksonville. He won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. So he brings that experience down to northern Florida. And the Jaguars are in first place in the AFC South. So the Jacksonville is number 4 in this week's SCU Sizzling 7. Number 3 is Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's leading MVP. He's doing it with nothing. Duvernay. Got to give so much credit to Duvernay. He stepped up big time. He is clearly the number 1 receiver in Baltimore. Obviously, still Mark Andrews. You have a lot of running backs out there. Marcus Peters is back on defense. He's healthy this year. Obviously, he missed all of last year. Tore his ACL in training camp last year. He had Pickett this week against New England. Baltimore is looking like a complete team. And meanwhile, the rest of the AFC North, they're looking like, not the best teams. We already talked about it. Cleveland. They're doing all right, but not all right enough. Cincinnati, what's going on with the O-line? Joe Burrow's been sacked 13 times in the first 2 games. And they beat the Jets. Congratulations. And Pittsburgh's lost back-to-back games. They can't seem to get out of their own way. While Baltimore just continue to dominate in every aspect possible. Baltimore number 3. Number 2, Miami. Yeah, the Dolphins are 3-0. They're on top of the AFC East after they went over Buffalo. I didn't get to talk about it last week, but I'll talk about it now. How about that win? In Baltimore, week 2, down 35-14 at the end of the 3. And I was ready to come on that last week's show and talk about Lamar Jackson outplayed Tua Tagovailoa every way possible. And that's why he's the MVP. And Lamar Jackson's obviously still the MVP. My MVP anyway. I would pick for MVP this time. And then this week, when they came back against Baltimore, and then this week they keep it clear. Everyone thought, it's going to be a blowout city. The Bills are going to shut the Dolphins down. And the Dolphins came with the victory against the Bills. They're the only undefeated team in the AFC. One of 2 teams left undefeated in the NFL. And they're number 2 on the SCU Sizzling 7 this week. And number 1, I think you already know who's coming. Philadelphia. Best team in the NFL by far. Darius Slay is killing it on defense. Jalen Hurts, great quarterback. Devontae Smith had on 100 yards against Washington. They have a great team out there. Nick Sirianni, a coach that everybody questioned his first season. Well, who is this guy? What is he going to do? I think he came from Houston. Does he have any? I don't think he has any head coaching experience. Everybody questioned him. We're not questioning anymore, are we? I'm not. You shouldn't be either. The Eagles, the best team in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles, number 1 in this week's SCU Sizzling 7. All right. So again, this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 big announcements coming. So be sure to stay tuned to that. Can't wait to make these announcements once I get the okay to do so. I should have gotten it today, but I'll reach out today and talk to who I need to talk to, and we'll go from there. But before we end the show, I do have some sad news I want to put out there. A little personal, but this is my show, so there you go. I went to Florida in the last week of August 27th. I went around. Yeah, I was going on August 20. No, it was August 28th. Because I had to do it. I broadcast the game the 27th, and I was going to go out the 28th, see my dad, my grandmother, my aunt, my cousin, my dad's side of the family, until the first week of September, like right for Labor Day, or right before Labor Day. Well, as soon as I got to the airport, my father complained his arm hurt, so he was going to drop me and his girlfriend off at their house, and he's going to go get checked out. Unfortunately, my dad stayed in the hospital the next 3.5 weeks. And I didn't get to see him at all. I saw him a few times in the hospital while I was there for that week, but other than that, I didn't see much of him. But that's not what it's about here. My grandmother also went to the hospital. She was in the hospital about the same time my dad was. They were in the same hospital, same floor, all that. She got granted release, though. Like, she after a couple days, she was out. She was like, I'm done. I want to go home. And she went home. And so, I spent the second half of my vacation with my aunt and my grandma at their house in Newport Richey. Well, the day after I came back on September 4th, so it was Labor Day. I came back to Massachusetts. My grandma went back into the hospital, and doctors diagnosed her with pancreatic cancer. And unfortunately, at 5:30 a.m. on September 22nd, 2022, Madeline Knox passed away at the age of 77. So I just want to share this podcast, my announcements, dedicated to my grandmother. Rest in peace, Mima. And as you final words were to me, as before I say goodbye to you, I love you so much. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been episode number 73 of the SCU Show.